It's always something.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody. Sorry, we were having a little bit of technical difficulty, so excuse our little bit of delay in joining you this evening. As always, Dominique and I are so excited to be here with you tonight to talk about breastfeeding and pumping and parenting and whatever else we decide we want to converse about. So, what's going on in your life, Dominique? Anything exciting?
Well, yeah. So our hospital is a small hospital. Normally we do about 70 births a month. And July we had, I think, 110.
Wow.
And I know. In August we had 95. So I'm
Wow. I bet. That's exciting, but exhausting.
Yep. When they announced the numbers, I was like, I feel it. I feel every single bit of it.
Right?
Love it.
No kidding. That's a lot.
Yeah. So we're excited about, because a lot of hospitals, once COVID happened, they didn't get as many, patients and
right.
stuff. I guess our moms were like, screw it, let's have a baby. We can't do nothing else.
I guess so. Or do people normally travel maybe to have their babies and they're staying put?
Maybe that could be it. I don't know. But I mean, normally August and July are not busy for us. So it was very weird.
Well, hey, that's exciting.
Job security.
Yeah. Well, that's very exciting. Births are always very exciting.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you're exhausted.
Because all of them are breastfeeding, I feel like.
Well, hey, that's what we like to see, right?
Right. That's right.
But still, it's, doesn't make your any less tired for you. Are you the only IBCLC?
No, there's two of us. There used to be three, but now there's just two of us. And we it was like when we heard the numbers, it was like, okay, now I understand. Because when you're in the thick of it, you don't realize that you're seeing 12 babies a day. So when you hear it, it's like, okay, I understand why I'm tired. I understand why I'm exhausted because goodness, like we're working 12-hour days and we just can't figure out why we're tired. And it's like, well, that makes sense. It all makes sense.
Well, hey, you know what? It's just one of those things where it's like, you just keep going. Right.
Yeah. I thought I told my husband, I said job security. And I was like, for July and August, definitely had a job.
Oh, crazy. Well, I'm glad they're keeping you busy.
Yes.
Yeah. So all sorts of exciting things there. Well, before we kind of dive into the questions today, let's just remind everybody about our free starter pack offer. So everybody that's watching tonight, you can get a free breastfeeding starter pack. It's going to include everything that you need to get started with the Kiinde twist system. So you're going to get the adapters that you will need for your pump. This is our standard adapter on a Medela flange, but we have adapters for most pumps on the market. If you are curious or not sure which flange or which adapter you need for your pump, just let us know. Send us a message or comment here. Whatever, we will make sure that you get the one that you need. So you're going to get these adapters. Those same adapters can also be used for the nipples to feed with, but we'll talk about that in a minute. You're also going to get, of course, twist pouch to try. This pouch you direct pump into. So if you're not familiar with how our system works, you're just going to take your twist pouch and twist it into the adapter here. Then you can direct pump into your pouch. Once your pouch is full, you can put the lid on. And then you can then store it just like you would any other breast milk pouch. It can go in the refrigerator, the freezer, however else you would store. You can warm in this pouch. And then when you're ready to feed, you can pop it into our twist squeeze holder. Your pouch just pops in right there. You can use one of our active latch nipples, which is just going to pop down into the twist pouch. And you're ready to go. If you prefer a different nipple or your baby prefers a different nipple, we definitely know how that goes. And you can use those same adapters that work with your pump parts to feed with a different nipple. So you've got options there. So that starter pack is just $6 for shipping. Otherwise, it's free. It comes with everything I just showed you, as well as some coupons. So if you don't already have one, definitely click that link to get yourself one today. If you want to share it with your friends, or get one for a friend, it makes a really great gift, or great kind of way to introduce your friends to the Twist system as well. The only thing I want to say right quick before we dive into the questions is don't forget to share and like and comment on our live tonight. Everyone that does will be entered to win a gift set, which is our biggest set. That set includes the warmer. So be sure to hang around, because we will announce that winner live on the show tonight, and share with your friends, your family, anybody that you think can benefit from it. I just see a question from Erica right quick that I want to grab before we start. This says, I bought the connectors, but it doesn't work on my pump. That Lancino I bought for that type of pump. Erica, the Lancino adapters may ship separately from the actual box. So if it's been sometimes they will come a day later. If it's been that amount of time, like if you've had your starter pack for over 24 hours and they're still not there, send us an email to support@kiinde.com, and our team will make sure that you get the adapters that you need, because we are compatible with Lancino.
And there was a question underneath, directly underneath it, that says, does it work with Lancino pumps? And
yes. Yes, we are compatible with Lancino pumps. So Erica, just if your adapters didn't show up for whatever reason, so sorry about that. Send us an email to support@kiinde.com, and our team will make sure that you get those. So yeah, that's all. I know that's a lot of information that I just throw at you really fast. So if you have any questions or you want to know more, just pop a question in the comments and we'll make sure to get it answered. But let's dive into our questions. This question is from Sheila that says, can you talk about Kiinde's new product and how to use the wet dry bag for pump parts? So we are really excited to talk about that tonight. So if you've been following along on social media, you may have seen some sneak peeks. They kind of looked like this, a little bag rolling across the screen like this. And this is our new wet dry bag. You can use it for pump parts. You can also use it for any other wet dry needs that you have. So it does fold up flat, as you can see. And when you're ready to use it, just pops open and it unzips here at the top. And it's going to roll out into what we call a staging mat that you can lay on the table or the counter or wherever that you're going to be pumping. And you can have a safe, clean, waterproof space to prepare your pump parts. And then when you're done pumping, you can put all your pump parts inside of there. So I could just keep my adapters right attached to my flange. And this is kind of hard to do one-handed. Hang on. I'm not that coordinated. And roll her up.
That's hard these days.
And then it holds your flanges or whatever else you need in there. There is a zipper pocket here that you can use for tubing or membranes or any little small parts that you maybe don't want floating around in the open. You can put a snack in there, whatever feels right.
Snack pockets.
Yeah. And you may notice that this bag looks a little bit different than the photos of the finished one. This was a sample. So while the functionality is the same, you'll just notice a few little details that are different, like the logo here. The biggest one that I want to point out is that the finished version does have a gray inside. So same functionality, but it's a gray inside. And it does have two clips that hang here on the side. So you can, or two, hooks. So you can hang it onto your diaper bag or a stroller or something like that. And then, like I showed before, when you're done pumping, you're done, you're ready to clean it out for the day or whatever. Then you just take that on out, zip it up. And then it just kind of does a twisting motion to fold flat.
Cute.
This on the end here is stretchy. So if you wanted to, you can wrap it around the bag and it will keep it flat for you. So that way it's not like springing open in your pump bag. So that's our really exciting new little announcement for tonight. I do see that somebody said, what are the cleaning instructions on this? You just could wipe it down as needed. It is machine washable. So if you needed to really get it clean, it can go in the washing machine. And it's not exclusive to pump parts. We do sell it as an accessory to our pump bag, of course, and want that to be available for you. But you can also use it for anything else you would use a wet dry bag for. So clothing, diapers, whatever else you might use a wet dry bag for, then you can use it for that. And it can just fold up and fit right inside of the pump bag. And it is live on the site. So you can go on and get that today. It's ready to go. The other thing that's really exciting is the pump bag is restocked. So I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for the pump bag to restock. So along with the launch of the pump parts bag, the everyday pump bag is restocked. You may notice that it does have a new color lining. So if you have the current pump bag, it has a black lining. This one has a gray lining. And that was just a change we made after some feedback, but the functionality is essentially still the same. But you can put your pump parts bag in there. You've still got the storage, the cooler on the one side, and the room for the pump on the other side. So you can keep your pump in there and pump with it in there, as well as charge your pump, anything that you need to do. It holds laptops, iPads, tablets, and really anything that you need while you're pumping. This bag does it all. I think Dominique uses hers for work bag.
I do.
She's not even pumping.
It has a lot of pockets for snacks and my laptop and other stuff I need for work. I actually swapped that bag out I use that for when I do home visits.
Oh, yeah.
It holds my laptop really well, and it has that little pocket to put your pump in, and so the Spectra pump fits real good in there. So if I need to bring it to demo anybody, like if I'm teaching classes, like there's little pockets for my boobs and stuff like that. So I've actually switched it out. So now my work gets a raggedy whatever bag my job gave me, and my home consult patients get the swaggy
yeah, and so like Dominique was saying, it does fit most pumps. I saw in the comments somebody asked about a Spectra. So a Spectra pump will fit in there.
It's nice in there.
Yeah, it's nice and roomy. You've got a little pocket here you can put your cord or whatever else that you want to put in there. So that does fit in there. And just one last thing to add, the pump parts bag you can get by itself, or you can get it in a bundle with the pump bag. So if you don't already have the pump bag, so check out our website. Emma can probably put a link into the comments direct to that for you. But it is live on the site and ready to go. So that's really exciting. So let's actually dive into some breastfeeding and pumping questions. Now, please, if you have questions about any of our products, feel free to throw them in as well. This question is a really great one. And we've talked about this a little bit before, but I don't think we've talked about it a ton. And it says, if I have poor nutrition, do I give my baby formula, or will my prenatals be enough for baby to get what he needs in my milk? I want him to grow and not be hindered from my diet.
That's actually a great question. So breast milk, first of all, Erin, did you want to answer it?
Oh, no. Go for it, Dominique.
Great question. Your body makes breast milk kind of in the same way your body takes care of the baby. It's always going to be to your detriment, not the baby's. So what your body's going to do is take everything it needs for the baby to make that breast milk perfect, and then leave you with anything. So if you want to change your diet, that'll be good, but it benefits you. More so than changing the diet of the breast milk. A few things where it is diet controlled are like vitamin B, vitamin A, and vitamin D. So those are vitamins that we get directly from other sources. So like vitamin A and B usually comes from B usually we get from eating other animals, right? So that from meat. And then vitamin A comes from like fruits and vegetables, but also too we get it from consuming meat. And then vitamin D, we get that from the sun. So that doesn't mean if you're vegan or vegetarian, because you're breastfeeding now, you have to start eating meat. You just need to make sure that you are taking supplements, specifically those supplements, to make sure that you get it in your diet. I know a lot of my friends that, or not my friends, but families that I've worked with where they are vegan or vegetarian, the mom will actually go get vitamin B injections, which I think work a lot better than taking supplements. So you can get those vitamin B injections. Vitamin A is really easy to get. And then, of course, vitamin D, there's supplements for that. And you can also spend time in the sun. But vitamin D is specific for all breastfeeding parents. It doesn't matter if you are vegan, vegetarian, or you eat everything. You're an everything-asaurus like myself. Vitamin D, we should all be consuming that vitamin supplement anyway, because we are indoor creatures now. We are not outdoor creatures, so we do not get as much sun as we used to back when we were created. So no, you do not have to have this absorbent diet, extravagant diet. You can eat regularly. Obviously, we want you to eat well for yourself, right? You should eat healthy to keep yourself healthy, but your body will take care of the baby. And you would need to include those vitamins and minerals to take care of yourself. I hope I explained that good.
Yeah, no, I thought that was great. And I would say the same thing. I think a lot of people are surprised to learn that breast milk is actually made the same way blood is. It's a bodily fluid in that way, as opposed to like any other kind of fluid that we make. And so your body is whatever nutrients you are eating. It doesn't necessarily matter the quality of the nutrients, right? Exactly. So everybody eats different ways for different reasons, and that's not anybody else's, place to make a decision on. And I think the word poor nutrition can be really subjective, right? How you like what, kind of think about what are you calling poor nutrition? Is it that you eat, a lot of what we call junk food or whatever you're eating? I would be more concerned about you if you weren't eating at all. Exactly. Because then your body has nothing to work with. Exactly. What you actually eat is, like Dominique said, your body is going to take what it needs from what it gets. So what's left over is what goes to you. And that's the kind of more kind of concerning part. So eating a balanced diet, as, kind of cliche as that sounds, is really all that matters. Feed yourself, don't restrict. Like Dominique said, there are some supplements that, talk to your lactation professional and your doctor about starting those. That you can take, we do need those things, but generally don't stress about it too much, because your body is going to make the milk that your baby needs with what you give it.
Exactly.
So just eat.
That's the problem. Eat.
This question says, does your milk supply drop when you start birth control? What are some tips to rebuild supply? So I will share an anecdotal experience, and then maybe Dominique can share a little bit more professional experience. But for myself personally, I am really sensitive to the hormones in birth control. I knew that long before I had babies. I'm one of those people that, like, if birth control has a side effect, I'm going to get it. And so I already knew that. And so I actually did try a low dose hormonal birth control after my son was born. And I did see an effect on my milk supply, which I knew was a potential risk. And so luckily it was just a couple days in, I was able to stop the birth control. We nursed on demand, and we, got that supply back up. But there is potential, especially if you start birth control before 6 weeks, that you can see a significant drop. So Dominique, maybe you can share a little bit more about why that is.
So the big thing I want to share with you guys is that most birth controls on the market, if you are a breastfeeding mother, it says specifically not to take before the milk is established and not to take before 6 weeks postpartum. And the biggest culprit of being given right away is the Depo-Vera shot. A lot of healthcare providers like to give that to you on the unit before you go home. But understand, and that's one of the big ones that will drop your supply. And unfortunately, you know, you just have to wait for it to work out of your system because it's a shot. So, whatever, I'm not telling you guys not to take birth control, but whatever birth control that you choose, look it up and read the pamphlets on it. If it says do not use before 6 weeks, you know, a 2-week postpartum appointment is not the time to get birth control if you plan on breastfeeding and plan on having a supply. Even if you're not sensitive to birth control, you have no idea what this new postpartum body is going to be sensitive to. After you have a baby, it changes how your body looks, how your body reacts to things. And so it's best to just follow the inserts and just wait until you're at least 6 weeks postpartum before getting any kind of birth control. And just like Erin said, you know, I usually suggest for moms to get a low hormonal pill if they can, because if anything happens, if your supply does decide to drop, you can just stop the pill. And after a day or so, it'll be cleared from your system, and then you can pump and nurse to kind of bring your supply back up. If you get like things that are an injection or an implant, that's kind of hard to take out if it's messing with your supply. So that's another thing to kind of research what you're doing. I always recommend to start with the pill, because at least if the pill does something, you can stop it and you can research other birth control to use. So low or no hormonal are going to be the best birth controls that you should take. But yes, even if it's a low hormonal progesterone only, there's always an effect, a slight risk that it will drop your supply. So talk to lactation professional or your OB before you take it. But that risk is always there. And again, if you notice that there's a supply dip, you can, if it's a pill, just stop taking it. And then talk to your lactation professional about what they suggest you should try next. And if it's like an injection or an implant, then I would recommend that you just kind of, if you notice your supply is going down, just start pumping after nursing right away, nurse on demand, and kind of wait for it to subside out of your system. And as long as you can keep the milk flowing, then your supply should bounce back as soon as that leaves your system.
Yeah, and I think that's also something else to mention is that for some people, it's just an initial dip, right? Like once their body kind of adjusts to the hormone change of birth control, then they see it go back to where they were before. Yes. For other people, it may be, you know, a more kind of permanent
going away.
Yeah. So just like Dominique said, you know, starting with something that's easy to stop, like a low dose pill, and just really stay in touch with your lactation professional and your provider, so that if anything does arise, you can make a plan for what you will do for the long term. Because it's really hard to say like what a good choice is or what the best choice is, because everybody is affected so different. There is no way to generalize that. And we don't know your health histories or what other things you may have going on. So really your OB is the best person to discuss with that. If you're worried that your OB may not be familiar with breastfeeding and birth control interactions and things like that, then talk to your lactation professional, send us an email to lc@kiinde.com, and Dominique can give you a little bit more guidance on maybe what questions to ask or things like that. This question from Alyssa says, is it weird my 2-month-old son clicks while breastfeeding? So I would say yes and no. Because I personally, and again, this is a personal experience, have babies that click while they eat when they're little, because I have a really fast letdown. And so while that letdown is zooming in, they have a little bit of, it's not really clicking, it's them swallowing. So it's not losing suction, because some clicks can be losing suction. I can just really, really audibly hear their swallow because they're taking such large gulps with my letdown. Now, there is another kind of clicking that can be caused by your baby losing suction constantly, and I'll have Dominique talk a little bit more about that, because she's the expert there on what would be causing your baby to constantly lose suction the whole time that they are feeding.
So with the clicking, like Aaron said, it could be the baby just clicking because the flow is very fast. I too, Aaron, had a baby, or two babies like that, where as soon as the letdown happened, poor things were just getting drowned, and that's just how they dealt with it. But sometimes if the baby has a poor latch, or if something like a restriction in the mouth is causing a poor latch, they may click at the breast. And that clicking is them losing their suction to swallow, and then they're latching back. And usually that's accompanied with like sore nipples as well. So it's not weird that your son clicks while breastfeeding, but it could be a sign of a poor latch, or that you have a fast letdown. I can't tell you without seeing the baby which one it is. So if you are concerned that maybe it's from poor latching, if you have other signs of poor latching, then this may be an opportunity to meet with your lactation professional outpatient. Or you can email me at lc@kiinde.com if you want to bounce some questions around, but just kind of see somebody and get that latch looked at to make sure that it's clicking from like a fast flow, or if it's from poor latching.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's just an indicator that something could be off. So it's worth asking that question about. We've got lots of good questions tonight. Yeah. I'm seeing so many awesome questions start to come in. A lot of questions I saw too about returning to work, so we'll definitely touch that. This one from Amanda says, my son, thinks nursing time is playtime. I am exhausted. I don't know what to do. He puts me in his mouth, but then he looks up at me and smiles, and all the milk comes out of his mouth. I think we have all done that. I tried not looking at him. Looking at him, I'm at a loss. So I think, like I was just saying, everybody has had one of those nursing smiles where they like warm, they warm your heart like once or twice, right? If they're constant, then it's like, okay, please focus. Please focus on the task at hand here. and eat. I think it depends on how old your baby is. What the best thing to do is, if we typically see babies that are 6, 7, 8, 9 months, as they start to get more mobile and more interested in what's going on in the world, they will get really distracted while they're feeding. And literally like a gust of wind, can derail the feeding. My suggestions, what worked for me were, when I could, going to a different room if other people were around, somewhere that was, quiet. Maybe we could turn the lights down a little bit. Giving my baby something to play with, like I would wear a nursing necklace, or give them a small, like a rattle or a small teether or something like that. Kind of seemed like if it kept their hands busy, then it helped a little bit. And also, a lot of older babies do what I like to call drive-by feedings, where they'll feed for short amounts more frequently, which I know can be equally as exhausting. But sometimes it's just kind of a period where they stop, and you may be surprised how much your baby can remove, in just 3 or 4 minutes.
Right.
And then maybe they'll do longer feeding at nap time, bedtime, overnight to kind of help make up for it. What are your thoughts on that, Dominique?
I mean, it's spot on. I usually, this is common with older babies, and looking at your profile picture, your baby looks kind of older. So I would say, maybe nurse where there's no distractions, like in a poorly lit room. I too had nursing necklaces before they were a thing. I would just tie like little toys and stuff together and just wear it around my neck. When the iPhone came out, because I've had every single iPhone except for the S's, I would give the kid the iPhone so that they could focus, which is terrible, but so they could focus on nursing, and so the baby would be nursing like with the phone. So, and some of those little distractions kind of help too, with keeping the baby at the breast, and keeping them engaged. I would say though, one thing I did too is if they were constantly playing, then especially if they were older, I would just take them off and set them down someplace safe and then just walk away. And if they're hungry, they'll fuss. If not, they'll find something else to do. And then that'll let you know that, hey, maybe, you thought baby was hungry in that moment, but baby is like, nah, I just want to play. And then you can try again in like an hour and see if baby changes their mind. I've had to do that a couple of times with one of mine because she, was always wanting to nurse, but sometimes it was just wanting to play for a little bit, and you didn't have time for that. I had something that I had to deal with.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think something else to remember is that nursing is not every time for like a full meal. Sometimes it's for a drink, sometimes it's for a snack. So sometimes they really may just need, a quick little like refill. And then, so you kind of have to watch your baby's cues, what their diapers are. Obviously there's a difference in 2 or 3 feedings a day being like that, and literally all 8 feedings or 9 feedings of the day, and your baby's not, so just kind of, try those things. If they don't work, check in with your lactation professional, or if you don't have one, send us an email and we'll give you a little more details. This question is from Susan Lee. It says, is it safe to accept donated breast milk from another mom that hasn't gone through a company that tests or pasteurizes it? This is a really great question. We know that mom-to-mom milk donation is becoming more and more common, and that in a lot of cases, it's keeping a lot of babies on breast milk, and that is really awesome. Important to remember is just that you don't know always what that person's lifestyle is, if it's if it's somebody that you don't know well. So I would not say it's not unsafe, but it's just important to know what that person's doing. Yeah. You may, if you're going to accept breast milk, good practice may be to ask for their medications, ask what their lifestyle is like, how the milk was expressed, how it was stored, all of these kinds of things. There's no way, like there's no regulation of it. So I can't say like, this is the way to guarantee that it's one way or the other. So it really, I guess I'm saying in a long way, comes up to a personal decision, but those are your kind of guidelines would be to just ask those kind of questions. Do you have anything else to add, Dominique?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I get this question a lot. I'm not against mother-to-mother milk sharing. Like you said, Erin, it keeps lots of babies breastfeeding. And sometimes it's the only way the baby can eat, because maybe the baby has a severe, allergy to whatever they use to make formula. So I would say just do your due diligence. Make sure that you ask all the right questions. I would maybe make sure it's somebody from like my own like friendship circles or anything like that, And then my biggest advice is don't pay for it, because money exchange sometimes makes people not as honest as what they can be. And I know there's a lot of money like paid breast milk sites, and I don't say this to say that mothers shouldn't get paid for their pumping, but money makes some people not honest. And there's been several studies that were done where labs bought breast milk from moms and they found other stuff in the pouches with the breast milk, where it was like they put water, like more water to try to get more ounces so they can charge more money, or they'll put cow's milk in there. Some of them even had formula in it, So I would say, I wouldn't necessarily go to like one of those paid sites because, again, it doesn't. I hate to say people are honest, but when there's money involved, sometimes it just makes honest people not honest. And so definitely look at mother to mother peer donation. And then I personally just say stick to your circles that you know. So like if you have a friend that is pumping, or if your friend knows a friend, I think that's okay. But if it's just Susie Q Homemaker off the internet, I would be a little bit wary. Do your due diligence. But I'm not against it. Just make sure you ask the right questions, get a good background. And honestly, most moms that are doing this altruistic work they already, when they're advertising their milk, they'll put their business out in the posts, right? They'll say, I take XYZ meds, I don't smoke, I do smoke. Like they're pretty honest with that because they're doing it because they want to help other babies. So they do share that information readily for you. So just make sure that you ask and do your due diligence.
Yeah, I think that's all really great advice. And, I'm seeing more and more that insurances are covering things like donor milk. So if you do have a milk bank in your area, reach out to them and see, usually the milk is prioritized for, high risk babies, so NICUs and things like that. But it's worth reaching out to if it makes you more comfortable to have, that kind of a thing, to reach out and see what their processes are for just consumer. For just the regular consumer, if they take insurance, if they sell to regular consumers, whatever. But otherwise, Dominique's advice, was spot on. Just really weigh the risk versus benefit, and try to do your best, to figure out who it's coming from. So anyway, this next question says, "Hi, I am working from home mom now." I think probably so many of us can relate to what that's like. "And my daughter goes to daycare. With stress and relocating, I noticed my supply decreased. They said I can try to supply half formula, half breast milk. Is that okay? Do you think my supply will go back? And lastly, do you offer free lactation consulting?" So I'm actually going to start with your last question first. You can email Dominique at lc@kiinde.com and she can answer your questions. We do have some limitations being just over email, but if Dominique cannot help you over email, she can help you get in touch with somebody who can help you. So she's not just going to leave you high and dry. And Dominique, knows a lot of resources. She's aware of a lot of resources. Our entire team is aware of people who are doing virtual consults, like Zoom or Skype calls, things like that, if you can't get to see somebody in person. So that's the first thing that I want to make sure we cover. The next parts, I think it's really important to normalize and to know that a huge life change can affect your emotional health, which can affect your supply. So we know that the stress hormone, or our cortisol levels, make it harder to let down or to release the milk that's in our body. And if the milk's not being released, then it kind of kicks off a cycle, right, of going down our supply. So, of course, some stress is just unavoidable. It's just part of being a human being. But doing things like, doing a deep breathing exercise, if you have something that really calms you, like a certain song or yoga or a snack that you like, or I don't know, there's so many different things that make people happy. Try doing that, more often during the day, especially right before pumping. That can help. And then, just continue to stimulate, even if, you feel like your pump sessions are not as good as they used to be or something like that. Continue the stimulation, because it's important for your body as you continue to get that kind of message or signal that you still need milk to be made. Dominique, will you talk a little bit about mixing breast milk and formula?
Yes. So it's okay if your baby has breast milk and has formula, but please do not mix them both in the same container. You want to make the formula as it says on the container directly, and you want to give the breast milk as it is in the bottle. So what I usually tell parents is to give all of the breast milk that you have, and if baby is still hungry afterwards, then follow up with a bottle of formula. but you really don't want to mix the two in the bottle. This is great. I actually had a call today where somebody told the mom to make the formula with the breast milk, and that's dangerous if the formula is not made just so. Because it is, especially the powder, it's concentrated in a way to have a certain amount of nutrients and macronutrients and proteins and stuff based on that mixture with the water. And if you are mixing it weird or half scooping it, stuff like that, you can really mess with the balance of certain things, and that can really mess up, how your baby digests, how their kidneys process things like that. So yes, it's okay if you do have formula half breast milk, but when I say that, that means that their diet is 50% breast milk and 50% formula, not mixed together in the bottle. Especially if they're at daycare, tell the daycare provider to give all your breast milk, and if they run out or if your baby is still hungry, then to offer formula after, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. And aside from what, Dominique was saying, don't mix the powder right in unless your doctor gives you direction to do that. Also, some of the other reasons for not mixing is that once you introduce formula to breast milk, you then have to go off the formula storage guidelines, which has a significantly less storage life than breast milk. So you run the risk of wasting your breast milk, which when you're already needing to supplement, that can be really difficult. And also depending on your baby, and of course all babies are different, if they don't love the taste of formula, then they taste it, they don't even want to drink it in the breast milk at all. And again, you're running that risk of wasting. So do some trial and error, see how your baby does. Dominique, what is your advice for a baby who doesn't like the taste of formula but will drink it with some breast milk mixed in? How would you suggest handling that? Because we know that happens, right?
Yeah. I've noticed it happens a lot less if you chase the formula with the breast milk. You know what I'm saying? Like, give them the bottle first, because then they're partly full or whatever, and then you give them the formula afterwards, where they don't care too much. I think a lot of that resistance is that they're very hungry and they like what they like and they want what they know and they don't have patience for all this other mess. So if you give them the breast milk first, even if it's just a little bit, and that hunger kind of dies down and they get the taste, a lot of times they'll take the formula afterwards, no problem. Now, if it's like Nutramigen or Alimentum, I don't know, because that stuff's so I can imagine how awful it tastes.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's just going to be trial and error. Always the information and education that Dominique and I share is based off of our experience as moms and professionals, and so you have to do what works for you, but we always give you the information that we know as best practice and what we have seen work in our professional experience, as well as what current guidelines and things like that are. And of course, we never want you to waste any breast milk. I think that's probably the biggest reason for not mixing the two, is that you then lose some of that storage. So anyway, please, if we did not answer your question all the way, or you have more concerns, send us an email to elsie@kiinde.com, and our team is there to help. This question says, is it okay to pump just one side at a time? What are the benefits of double pumping? So we know that the breasts work together. They are a unit. And so the benefits of double pumping are that you're going to be stimulating the whole unit at one time. Now, obviously, if you only have a singleton, you're not ever double feeding. And we understand that. But the breast pump is not the baby, unfortunately. If whoever invents that will be like the $1 million idea. And so double pumping just kind of gives your body that one extra chance to stimulate a little bit more effectively, or closer to how the baby does. Does that mean you cannot pump, single pump or pump one side at a time? Absolutely not. If single pumping is what works for you, then, go for it. And, that can be, some people pump while they feed their baby. Some people pump one side at a time. Again, do what works for you. But the studies that they've done on breast pumps do show us that most moms get most effective or efficient removal when they double pump.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing too with double pumping is time. So,
Yes.
with my first, no one told me the benefits of double pumping. So I was single pumping because I said, well, she eats one boob and then she eats the other. And then I would alternate which one I would pump with, just like it was the baby. But when I had my second, I was like, well, I was spending literally 30 minutes pumping because I would do 15 minutes on this side and then 15 minutes on the other side. But when you do the double pumping, you can get in and out in 15 minutes. And most employers like that a lot better than if you're back there for 30, 45 minutes at a time pumping. So one of the benefits to double pumping is just time. It saves you time. You can hook up both your breasts at the same time. They let down at the same time, so you don't have to worry about waiting on this one to get going. You're let down simultaneously, and I would say anecdotally probably a little bit more forceful because you're getting double stimulation, at the same time. So your letdown happen a little bit more quickly, and then you can get through your pump session a little bit faster. But I have worked with moms that single pump mainly because they're super busty and they cannot hold an arm full of boob and flanges. And I don't know and this was some years ago that I helped these moms, but back then you could barely get a regular bra to fit your chi-chis if they were bigger than a double D. So I know they weren't making hand-free bras for these. That may be the case now, but back then it wasn't. So if you have, you're very busty, then maybe pumping one side at a time is better because you need to hold the breast and you need to hold the flange. So that could be a benefit to one at a time. But if you're part of the itty bitty chi-chi committee, like I used to be, then double pumping is good for milk production and getting in and out of that pump session pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there are a lot more options, thank goodness, now for hands-free bras, or some people even will use a sports bra, know, and you can just cut it and turn it into one. But like Dominique said, there may be, it may be easier for you if you're holding your parts. And we don't know everybody's business. If all you have is a single pump, please don't go out and go broke for a double electric breast pump if that's what works for you. But like we said before, there are some benefits to doing the double pumping. So I think let's do 2 more questions and then we will pick our gift set winner for the evening.
Good.
This question from Connie says, at what point in time is it okay to start lactating during pregnancy? My slacker boob seems to be leaking all of a sudden and I'm only around 8 or 9 weeks pregnant. Okay, Connie, so correct us if we're wrong. Are you currently lactating and having a baby? You're pregnant? If that's the case, then you definitely may see that the one side starts to pick up because you've got no hormones on board.
Right.
If you have not been lactating and you're all of a sudden starting to lactate at 8 or 9 weeks pregnant, if it's your second pregnancy, that doesn't surprise me.
Right.
Your body really is kicking back into gear. Even if it's your first pregnancy, some nipple discharge can be normal during early pregnancy. And it's just because those hormones that kick on colostrum production are hey, we're ready to do our job. We're here and let's, kind of priming the area. So technically we know that around 16 weeks, so in that second trimester, is when colostrum production really kind of starts full force. But especially if you're in a second, third, fourth, pregnancy, you may see that process start to happen a little bit earlier. If you are currently lactating, then you also may see some changes as you're pregnant. So that can all be normal. Now, if you're currently breastfeeding and everything's going well, your pregnancy is, normal, healthy pregnancy, it's probably fine to continue breastfeeding. If you haven't been lactating, don't start stimulating. You don't need to pump, put a baby or anything like that on until you're, we don't really say ever until your baby's born. Some providers may, when have a full-time pregnancy, 39, 40 weeks, encourage stimulation to help labor along, but please never do that without the direction of your doctor. Like they need to be supervising you and giving you that direction. So I hope that answer wasn't too convoluted. Do you have anything else to add to that, Dominique? It really depends on kind of the details of your situation.
The question was kind of, sorry, my dog's growling at me. I guess she's over the conversation. It's kind of hard to tell. Like if it seems like though this is the second pregnancy because she knows her slacker boob.
Right.
Like you'd have to go through it before. So this could just be normal since you've breastfed before, it sounds like. So your body is just really anxious to kind of get it going. But I'm with Erin. If you're not already breastfeeding, there's no need to kind of stimulate this. They do have some kind of passive catchers. I know the Milky Milk Saver, you can just set in your bra if you want to collect this colostrum. If it's a lot that's pouring out, anything passive that you can just sit there and collect the colostrum, I mean, that's fine. Especially because if you're at risk for like gestational diabetes or if your baby is going to be early, having some colostrum on hand is great if it's just free flowing. But I wouldn't go encouraging the situation at all without talking to your doctor and lactation professional.
Yeah, and it looks like Connie commented again and said it is a second pregnancy. So you're probably just seeing your body kind of kick back into that mode of
your body's like doing it.
Yep. That's like our bodies have like some serious memory when it comes to pregnancy. That's why your joints get loose earlier, you get uncomfortable earlier. All these things happen earlier than they did the first time. This last question is from Allie, and it says, how long after giving birth can you start pumping? So Dominique, what is your recommendation for pumping after your baby's born?
Never. Don't go to work. Just stay home.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I know. It's much easier. So what I normally recommend is to direct breastfeed for the first, and this is if you're going back to work, and you have to give bottles. If you're not going back to work, you don't have to follow this so stringently because you've got time. So if you're going back to work within like 6 to 8 weeks, I usually suggest try to direct breastfeed for the first 2 weeks. Learn how to breastfeed, figure that out before you throw more stuff on your plate. And after that, I always suggest start pumping at least once or twice a day for storage for going back to work. Now, that is if the baby is latching and nursing fine. If you've had some issues in the beginning, then start pumping right when the issues start. So like if you have a premature baby, start pumping right away. There's no need to wait for 2 weeks to start getting things going. But hopefully you'll be under the care of a lactation professional and they'll kind of give you that guidance too on when to start. But yeah, if everything's normal, full-term healthy, then work on breastfeeding for the first 2 weeks because that tends to be the hardest and you're already going through it hormonally. There's no need to add more stress to your life, like figuring out this breast pump. And then after that, pump at least once or twice a day for going back to work. And then I would say somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks, you can introduce a bottle. There's a good sweet spot in there where they'll be more accepting. After 4 weeks, those are adult babies and they may not be as accepting. Those are babies that are set in their ways and they like the boob and they don't want anything else. So that, and your baby doesn't have to get 100 bottles, just a bottle a day or every other day or once a week. They just need the ability to take the bottle, but they don't have to get it all the time. And so for that, you can just pump fresh for 2 and you can give to a family member to feed so that that baby can learn to get nutrition from somebody else besides yourself. But that is usually my recommendation. I know it's not the norm of what most people say. A lot of times professionals will say, no, wait for 6 weeks, blah, 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 blah. But the demographic that I work directly with are middle to low income families. And they usually have to return back to work as soon as 2 to 6 weeks. So they cannot wait 6 weeks to start pumping. It's not fair and it's not ethical, I think. So normally I have, if mom has the time, then I'll say just start pumping after 2 weeks. And that gives you time to build up a freezer stash and get your baby time to take a bottle. And I've never had any complaints. Moms have always had enough breast milk in their freezer. And their supply may go down a teeny bit when they go back to work, but it's not so much that they can't weather the storm. So that is my personal going back to work and pumping advice.
Yeah, and I think that's great advice. And I think, kind of like Dominique said, we all kind of get our own kind of method of what works for different kinds of people. You will see varying guidelines, 4 to 6 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, again, do kind of what works for you. I think a lot of that 4 to 6 guideline, at least this is my opinion, Dominique, you can chime in if you feel differently, came from the fact that a lot of times what happens, and I'm a mom, I totally know how easy it is to do this, is that when we introduce something new, we introduce it full force. So we introduce this pump and we're pumping every time our baby eats, and all of a sudden we have oversupply and mastitis, and holy cow, we're emotional hormonal wreck and everything is awful. So sometimes I think that waiting that 6 weeks gives all that a chance to level out, and we don't feel so like the need to do everything perfect in the right way and all this stuff. So like Dominique said, if you have to go back to work, I mean, in this country, most maternity leaves are 6 to 8 weeks. So that is just not practical.
Right.
If you have to go back to work in 6 weeks, sometimes even sooner. It blows my mind how short some maternity leaves are.
Yeah.
But so just like Dominique said, you don't have to pumping one time a day. If for 3 weeks before you go back to work is going to get you more than enough. All you need in that freezer is to replace what the hours that you're gone, and while you're gone, you pump to replace that. So you can save up as much as you want, but you don't have to have a week's worth of milk to successfully return to work. So just kind of take all the advice that you get, take it all in, and then do what feels best and works best for your specific
I tell my moms to treat it like a buffet. Leave the rest
there. Right. If it's not applicable to your situation, you can leave
it. Don't need chicken wings. Put them down.
Yeah. So yes, that's such a good piece of advice, and a perfect note, I think, to end our live on tonight. So thank you as always for being here with us and spending your time with us. I know that your time is valuable and you can spend it lots of different ways. So we really appreciate your support of Kiinde and of us, and being here with us and engaging with us. If you have any questions about any of our products, about the new pump parts bag, about the pumping bag, about any of the Kiinde products, please comment, send us an email, send us a DM, and we will answer it for you. Dominique and I will hang out in the comments answering questions. So if you're you joined the live late or you have another question, please still put it in the comments. We will still answer those, and we will answer all the questions that we didn't get to vocalize here on the show tonight. So please continue to engage. Share this live with anybody that you think could benefit from that, and we really, really appreciate you guys.
She wants to know who won.
All right, I'm drawing right now. Okay, our winner for tonight is Jamie Lee Weiland. Oh, I always get so nervous. I'm going to butcher people's names. Jamie Lee Weiland. So Jamie, congratulations on winning a Twist gift set. Send us a email to support@kiinde.com or a message here on Facebook, and our team will make sure that you get that prize. And of course, once again, thank you guys all for being with us, and we will see you next time.